Okay, well, welcome to the May the 4th be with you version of our CCH2 data portal lunch break. Today we're talking about the collaborative georeferencing or CoGe module in CCH2. This is not specific to CCH2 as most things that we talk about during this data portal lunch break, and it can be activated in most other Symbiotic portals. So I'm going to talk about kind of the premise of the collaborative georeferencing module. How does it work? How one can set up a CoGe project, how you can manage a CoGe project, and then I'll point you to some resources where you can learn more about doing this step by step. So collaborative georeferencing, or CoGe, is a module developed by the Geolocate team. So Geolocate is a georeferencing tool that is integrated into most Symbiotic portals. I want to say all Symbiotic portals. And collaborative georeferencing is a way of being able to send data to kind of a third-party platform and georeference them there, and then the data can go back into the Symbiotic portal or really any other type of data provider. So collaborative georeferencing, the third-party software or platform, does not need data from a Symbiotic portal specifically. It can take data from a CSV file as long as it's formatted correctly. But the idea behind CoGe, or collaborative georeferencing, is that you can have workers in a third-party platform doing the georeferencing in kind of a slick interface, but you don't need to give them explicit editing privileges to your Symbiotic portal or to your data source. So it's a way that they can georeference, and that is all they are allowed to do, which is kind of nice. It also has the advantage of you can put multiple data sources into one community in CoGe. So if I was a collection manager, I could put a bunch of my specimen data into CoGe, and I could collaborate with some other collection managers, and we say, hey, let's put all of our Ventura County specimens into this one community, because then you can work on all of those kind of similar localities at one time. Because CoGe lumps similar localities together, like it looks for keywords and it says, oh, these ones all have like similar descriptions. Let's put them together so that people can georeference them maybe at the same time. So here's an example where it found this record, which is very similar to these two records here. And so the user could just pop this open, georeference this, and if it can also be applied to these two, then they could just check these boxes and then georeference them at the exact same time. This is similar to the batch georeferencing tool in CCH2, except for the fact that to use the batch georeferencing tool in CCH2, you have to give someone editor permissions. And also it looks for, you can select things that are similar but not necessarily identical. But this algorithm is a little more loosey-goosey. It doesn't just list all of the unique strings. It kind of lumps together things that might have like anything that says Apache Canyon in it, regardless of where that is in the string. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. This is the collaborative georeferencing web client. You need to log in. You need to have an account to log in. And someone can be assigned to one or many communities. So if I just clicked on one of these communities, I could open that up. And it should look familiar if you've ever used Geolocate. You can just go to next record. And this is just the Geolocate platform with all the same map layers that you can choose and switch between. There are a couple of additional really neat tools, including you can draw a polygon, you can place a marker, you can change the uncertainty. That's all pretty standard. but it also has this really nice history tab. So I can go into my history, click Get History, and these are all the specimens that I have previously georeferenced in this community. And so when you come along something and you're like, oh shoot, I already georeferenced something that was near Pine Mountain, but I can't find it right here. So I could go into my history and I could even search for it. I could say, okay, when do I have Pine Mountain? Maybe I would search for something specific. I don't know if I have, but you could look for things that you've already georeferenced that might be applicable or put you in the same place as the one that you're currently working on. So it's pretty neat. You can just skip things over. You can skip things within your workspace, but you want to come back to them. You click Clear Workbench. If you want to skip something entirely, like it's too vague to georeference period, you can click Skip Selected, and then you have to give a reason for why you're skipping it. You can add Geo-Reference Remarks by going into the Add Comments button here. And you can also manually edit the coordinates. You can't do this in Geolocate, but you can in CoGe. You come over here to Manual Edit. If you like copied and pasted some stuff from Google, just like a Google Maps, you could just do that right here. And you can also edit the uncertainty radius, which is really nice. I kind of like to round off my radii, so it's not like, you know, oddly specific. And you can do that very easily here. So you can get data into CoGe either using a direct connection with a Symbiotic portal or using a CSV file import and export. The really neat thing about using CoGe with a Symbiotic portal is that you can send the data directly from your Symbiotic portal into CoGe. And as soon as that specimen is georeferenced in the CoGe web client, it is automatically updated in your Symbiotic portal. So it's like instantaneous. So it's really nice because then you don't have that awkward lag where something gets georeferenced in your portal and then something gets georeferenced in CoGe, and then it's like, oh shoot, we duplicated effort and wasted time. I'm going to talk about the direct connection with the Symbiotic portal because that's how I deal with it. So these are the general steps. First, you need to create an account in CoGe. And there are two important websites I want to point you to. There's the CoGe site versus the actual georeferencing web client. So the CoGe site will look like this. This is where you create a CoGe account, but then the web client is a different URL at Geolocate. So first you have to create an account. You will get approved by the Geolocate team to create your account. And then you will create a community. So a group of specimens that you're going to georeference is called a community in CoGe. So this, for example, is the community that I created for my herbarium digitization course. This is how I have found it really useful because, you know, students don't necessarily have a lot of training, and so I don't necessarily want to give them full editing permissions, but I do want to get them practice in georeferencing. So I'll have them create CoGe accounts, and then I'll have them join this community and do the georeferencing right there. So if I go to my community, you can manage it here. I'll talk about that in a second. You'll want to make sure that CoGe is activated in your portal, and the way that you can check that is if you go to the portal and you go down to, so I'm in the administration control panel. You would normally get to that by going My Profile, Occurrence Management, name of your collection, and here I am in the administration control panel, Processing Toolbox. And then there is a tab here that says Geolocate CoGe. And so if you don't see that, that just means that it has not been activated in your portal, and you just need to contact your portal administrator or a Symbiotic Support Hub to get that activated. Okay, so now we can push data into the Koji community from CCH2. This is really slick and I don't understand how it works, but I love it. So what you have to do is log into Koji on the Koji site. And then in the Geolocate Koji tab here, you'll click check status and it will say, oh, I see that you have logged into Koji. So you are authenticated. And I could add data to any of my communities. So if I wanted to create a new community, I could go to create, you add some information, you create a community, then you'll see it in this list. And let's say that I want to add specimens from a certain county into my community. All your communities will show up in this available communities box here. So let's try to add anything with County Del Norte, or apparently as it's called Del Norte. I'm not a California native, so that always just makes me laugh. Okay, so I have 15 records here that are from Del Norte County. And so it will only select things that don't have decimal degrees, latitude and longitude, obviously. And then I could come down here, select the community where I want to put the data. And then I'll give it some information. So I'll say, these are my Del Norte specimens. Doesn't really matter what you do here. You can either download these records to upload them manually into Koji, or you just click push data to geolocate Koji, and it's just going to nicely move that data into Koji. Then you have to cache the records in Koji. So what that means is you go into your community. I think I put it into this community. And you'll see that it has a little yellow arrow. That means that you have to do some action before you can actually view those specimens. So if I click on that, you need to update the cache. And that will take a couple of minutes depending on how many specimens you're working with. And then as soon as that says that it is cached, just like this, with my other data sources that I've brought in, then you will be able to log into the web client, select the community. Yeah, so it's added my Del Norte specimens. Oh, it hasn't quite yet because it said 0 specimens so far. There we go. So you have to cache and then you have to save. And then it'll go to 100%. And once that is done, then you'll be able to see them in here. So then you just georeference from there. You go to this site instead, so the geolocate.org, and then you can georeference from there. A couple of things that a manager can do in Koji is you can add members. So when you are creating a community, you can say whether it's public, restricted, or private. So public means obviously anyone can join. Restricted is people can request to join. And then private is only you can invite people to join your community. I think, I'm not sure what mine are. Restricted, okay. So you can add members to your community by going into the members tab. And you can invite members to a community. So you can just search for members. So people have to go and create an account and then you go add them here. And then this is also really slick. And we used it, I was part of a georeferencing grant for bat specimens. And so we put like this heck ton of amount of data into geolocate CoGe. And then we split up the data sets for the different georeferencers based on location. So you just focused on one location at a time. So you can assign specific data sets to users, and then you can change them later. So what that looks like is if I go to my members and then I click define users working data set, I can assign specific data sets to specific users. So let's just say that I'm like, okay, I only want William to work on the Cal State LA data. So I could click this Cal State LA and then William and then submit changes. And so now he can only work on these specific specimens. Or let's go to kind of a bigger data set to see how that can be useful. Oh, I'm the only user in that one. Let's see. So in this case, let's say we had all these different countries, and then I could say, okay, Katie is only going to do the Cameroon specimens and also only the South Cameroon specimens. So you can be really specific with what each user is able to georeference. Okay, so that was just kind of a pique your appetite version of the collaborative georeferencing tool. There is a lot more information and a lot more step-by-step processes in these links that are shown here, including some webinars. There's also a full training course for using CoGe. That's only for the like the student or the volunteer. But then there's other protocols for how you can put stuff in CoGe. I didn't put it on this slide, but I believe there's also some information on the Symbiotic docs website, and you can find information about how to put things into CoGe and get things out of CoGe there as well. All right, any questions? All right, well, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to stop recording.